you have clicked on the video where we are going to distinguish which type of case it is, okay? So, for this video here, I'm going to be showing you guys what you should see right off the bat for all the cases that you see, and then I'm going to show you the differences between the other ones that you need to be able to see, okay? So, with that said, let's get to it. Alright, this first set of cases that I have here are just cases where you can't really mistake them for one another, okay? So, they're very easy to recognize, okay? So, let's just get to it. So, the first case is the solved position, okay? So, for this case here, all you need to be able to see is that these here are solved with each other, okay? So, once again, all the pieces are solved for each other. Very easy. The next one is the F-perm from this angle and this angle right here. So, for both these angles, you should see a 1x3 bar and nothing else solved, okay? So, once again, 1x3 bar, nothing else solved. Very easy. The next one is the J-perm, okay? From this angle and this angle, okay? So, for this angle right here, you should see that every piece is solved except for one, which is the corner. So, once again, everything's solved except for the corner. Now, when it comes to this angle right here, we have a 1x3 bar and a 1x2 bar right here, okay? And they're separated from each other, so that's how you recognize the J-perm right here, okay? The next one is the U-perm. So, from this angle and this angle, what you should see is that all the corners are solved with each other and there's a 1x3 bar, okay? So that also makes this very easy. So once again, corner solved, 1x3 bar. Alright, and the next one we have is the Y-perm right here. So for this one here, what we should see here is that we have two 1x2 bars right here, which could be 2x2 bars right here. So that's how you recognize this right here, and you don't need to know that it has a corner edge opposite right here. So that's how you recognize the Y-perm. And the last one is the Z-perm, or the Z-perm, okay? So, from this angle and this angle right here, what we should see on it is that there's only two colors. So, this and the solved position are those two cases that I mentioned that only have two colors shown, okay? So, you should only see two colors shown, and another way you can look at it is you have the corner solved, and you see that these two edges need to be switched with each other. So, that's how you recognize all of these cases. Alright, these next set of cases that I have right here are the V-perm and the A-perm right here, okay? So, for these two cases here, what you need to see right off the bat is we have a 2x2 bar right in front like this, okay? Now, the biggest difference between these is the A-perm has 3 colors shown, unlike the V-perm, which has 4 colors shown, okay? And another way you can look at these is this has one corner edge opposite on the side, rather the V-perm has corner edge opposites on both sides, okay? So, those are two different ways that you can look at these two cases. Alright, the next cases that we have here are the R-perm and the T-perm from these angles right here, okay? Now, for these two here, we have a 1x2 bar and headlights, okay? Now, for these two here specifically, they are connected with each other, so they're not apart from each other like this, okay? So, for these ones here, it's also very easy and very similar to the last one, okay? Now, the R-perm here, as you can see, has all 4 colors, unlike the T-perm, which has only 3, okay? Now, another way you can look at this one here is the T-perm has a corner edge opposite between these pieces right here, but the R-perm doesn't, okay? So, that's how you can look at these cases. Alright, the next set of cases that we have here are the A-perm and the G-perm A, okay? So, for these two here, what you should see right off the bat is we have a 1x2 bar right here, and we have headlights, okay? Now, unlike the last one, these are not connected with each other like the last one, okay? They are right next to each other, but they're not actually solved with each other, okay? So, for these ones here, it's also very similar to the last ones, okay? So, the only way you can really recognize these is the A-perm only has 3 colors, when the G-perm has all 4 colors. So, now you cannot use corner edge opposites to distinguish these, okay? But this is the easiest way to recognize these, especially if you're not color neutral. Alright, the next cases that I have here are the H-perm, the U-perm, and the Z-perm, okay? So what you need to see right off the bat is that these have the corners solved with each other, okay? So for these ones right here, you need to look at them carefully, okay? So, there are a couple different ways that you can look at these, okay? So, for these angles particularly, we're looking at the angles where these edges here are not solved with anything, okay? Unlike the other ones that I showed you with the Z-perm and the U-perm, there was something solved with each other, and for the Z-perm, this one here had only 2 colors. So these you're going to have to look at a little bit differently, okay? But one of the easiest ways that you can distinguish the U perm apart is that it only has 3 colors on it, okay? Unlike these other two, they have 4 colors on it. So this one has just 1 color on it, or 3 colors, sorry. So now for these ones right here, okay? The H perm has corner edge opposites all over the place on it, okay? Unlike the Z perm, it doesn't have any on any spot on the cube. So that's how you want to recognize these cases. Alright, the next cases that I have here are the J perm and the N perm, okay? So for these cases here, they're from a couple different angles. So for the J perm, it's from this angle and this angle. And for the N perm, it's from all 4 angles, okay? So for these ones here, what you need to see right off the bat is that there are 2 1x2 bars on these, okay? So that's how you look at those, okay? And the easiest way to distinguish the two apart is the J perm, as you can see, only has 3 colors on both sides, okay? Unlike the N perm, it has all 4 colors on all 4 sides, okay? Now, another way you can look at these is for the J perm right here, it does not have a corner edge opposite in some of these spots, okay? So some of them they're missing, okay? Unlike this one here, they have corner edge opposites all over the place. Alright, the next set of cases that I have here are both G perms, so the G perm A, the G perm B, and the Y perm, okay? So what you need to see right off the bat for these cases is that we have a 1x2 bar right in the center, okay? And for these ones here, they're a little bit harder to distinguish, okay? And that's because for all 3 of these, they all have all colors, and we're going to have to look at them a little bit closer, okay? So here's how we're going to look at them, okay? So what we can distinguish for the G perm B is that they have solved edges, okay? And these two right here, as you can see, do not have solved edges. They have opposite edges. So that's how you want to distinguish the G perm B out of that. And distinguishing these two apart is a little bit harder, okay? What you need to look at is, look at the side right here, right behind the bar, okay? So on the Y perm, you should see a corner edge opposite, but on the G perm A, you shouldn't, okay? So that's how you need to distinguish these. Alright, for these next set of cases here, we have the A perm, the G perm B, the R perm, the T perm, and the V perm, okay? So for these 5 cases here, what we need to see is, we need to see that right here we have a 1x2 bar, but instead of it being in the middle, it's on the side right here, and it could be a 2x2 bar like this, or it could not, okay? So that's how we're going to need to look at these, okay? And these we're going to have to look at 2 or 3 cases just like the last ones, okay? So here's how we're going to recognize them. The A perm, the R perm, and the T perm have solved edges, so that obviously means that the G perm and the V perm have opposite edges. The R perm and the G perm have only 3 colors, which obviously means that the A perm, the T perm, and the V perm have all 4 colors. Given those 2 factors, we can narrow down the 3 of these cases right here. So for the R perm, it has solved edges and only 3 colors. For the G perm, it has 3 colors and opposite edges, and for the V perm, it has all colors with opposite edges, okay? Now, for the A and T perm, both of them have solved edges and all colors, so we're going to have to look at this a little bit differently. So what we're going to look at is, we need to look at this piece right here, okay? So on the A perm, we have some corner edge opposites going on right here in the front, but the T perm does not have any, okay? So that's how we need to recognize these 2 cases, and being color neutral would help, but I'm not going to require that. Alright, I have the next set of cases right here. So we have the A perm, the G perm A, and this is kind of awkward, but we have the G perm B from 2 different angles, and then we have the R perm, okay? So what we need to see right off the bat is that we have headlights and nothing else, okay? So that's how we're going to recognize it, and because this is kind of awkward like this with 2 different angles, we're going to narrow these ones here down first, okay? Alright, the A perm and the R perm have solved edges, which obviously means that the G perm A has opposite edges, okay? So that's one thing we need to look at right here, and then out of all of these here, the R perm is the only one here that does not have all the colors. Now comparing them to these 2 here, what we need to recognize for the R perm is that it does not have all the colors and it has solved edges. For the G perm A, what we need to see is that it has opposite edges and it has all the colors. Now the A perm looks very similar to this angle of the G perm B, okay? So both have all colors and both have solved edges, okay? So what we need to look at are basically on corner edge opposites. So this is a little bit different, but the G perm A, or B, sorry, has corner edge opposites on every spot except for this one right here, okay? Unlike the A perm, it only has this one right here. So for the A perm, we should only see one on the side, but for the G perm B on this angle, we should see that they are all over the place on this. Alright, and we don't need to distinguish these two apart, so I'm just going to be explaining what you need to see. So it's either one of these for the G perms, okay? So we either need to see that it has opposite edges and it does not have all the colors, or we need to see that it has all colors, solved edges, and it has corner edge opposites on every spot except for one. So that's how we're going to need to recognize these ones right here. And to determine which G perm B it is and which way it is, we're going to go more in depth into that in the next part. Alright, for these last set of cases here, I have the E perm, the F perm, the G perm A, the R perm, the V perm, and the Y perm, okay? So for all 6 of these, what you need to see right off the bat is that there's nothing paired up. No bars, no headlights, no nothing, okay? So these are the hardest cases to recognize, okay? So we're going to narrow 3 of them down, then the last 3 are going to be very difficult, okay? So the only case that has only 3 colors is the F perm for this angle and this angle right here. So if you see that nothing is paired up and you only see 3 colors, it's the F perm. Alright, and the only one that has opposite edges is the R perm. So if you see that nothing's paired up and you see opposite edges, it's the R perm. And then for the G perm A, okay? So if you see that nothing's paired up and you see a corner edge opposite on the side like this, that means it's the G perm A. So that's how you recognize those 3 cases. Now for the E perm, the V perm, and the Y perm, it's going to be a lot harder, okay? So these cases look the exact same, okay? So we're going to have to look at the patterns a little bit more. Alright, for these last 3 cases, what we're going to be looking at is we're going to be looking at how the pieces are made, okay? So we're going to be looking at it and seeing if it's checkered, okay? So in case you guys don't know what checkered means, it means there's a pattern going along like this, okay? So we're going to be looking at it, and a great example of that would be the Z perm right here, okay? So as you can see, it goes orange, blue, orange, blue, orange, blue, okay? So that's what you're going to be looking at on this and where exactly it is. So basically, you're looking at which parts of it make it look a little bit like a Z perm, okay? So that's how we're going to be recognizing this, okay? So with the E perm right here, it doesn't really look a whole lot like a Z perm, okay? The only spot that looks anything like a Z perm is this one spot right here and this spot right here. So that's all you'll see here that looks anything like a Z perm, okay? So basically looking at the spots that would be most like a Z perm, okay? And another way you can recognize the E perm is seeing that the edges are actually solved with each other. But if you're not color neutral, that's the way you're going to have to do it. For the V perm, you're going to see that it's checkered in the middle right here. So if you compare it to a Z perm, the middle looks a lot like it with the color arrangement, okay? So that's how you're going to want to recognize the V perm, okay? And now with the Y perm, it's the opposite, okay? With the Y perm, they're on the sides like this that look like a Z perm, okay? So you'll see it on the side for the Y perm, okay? So that's how you're going to want to recognize all these cases right here. So that's how you recognize all the PLLs and determine which kind of PLL it is. So now you can click here and go on to the next part where we determine which way the PLL is and finding how you want to set it up.